Good morning. Thank you for leading us in those wonderful songs of praise, reminding us of God's goodness and glory, asking God to watch over us. We want to pray for America. America has a lot of enemy, and I'm not here standing to tell you that America is perfect. But you have some values, you have some principles that I believe that the founding fathers, when they crafted the Declaration of Independence, they had God in it. And if you go and read the Declaration of Independence, you realize how godly these men were. And this is my opinion. I don't believe any country in the world can destroy America. Only America can destroy America. And that first word, united, I pray that America, with all of its differences, remain united. And if you look on fraction and you look on the displacement of any family, any company, any church, what has destroyed it or them is division. Is not being united. Division. Division is a cancer that will disrupt and destroy anything. And so continue to pray that America, regardless of its differences, will be united. This morning, I want to speak about the frailty of man. The frailty of man. Now, in the wake of Hurricane Helene, we are once again reminded of the frailty of human life and how fragile human existence on this earth is. Of the things we accumulate in this world, and over 200 lives have been lost, and hundreds of thousands have seen the devastation of properties and belongings they worked decades to build. And these tragedies prompt us to reflect on where our true security lies. And as painful as it is to witness such suffering, the disaster brings a vital lesson. The things of this world are temporary, but God's presence and promise are eternal. The things of this world are temporary, but God's presence and promise are eternal. Consider a sandcastle built by a child at the beach. Hours of careful work and pride are invested, but as soon as the tide rises, the waves washes it away. Life's work in the form of homes, businesses, or even dreams can be lost just as easily when trials come like a sudden storm. And this imagery parallels what many have experienced in the aftermath of the hurricane, where things that seem solid and permanent gone in an instant. In Psalms 113 through to 16, Psalms 103, verse 15 through to 16, Psalms 103, 15 and 16, The Bible reveals the life of mortals is like grass. They flourish like a flower of the field. The wind blows over it, and it is gone, and its place remember it no more. The psalmist reminds us that our lives are brief and fragile. Like flowers in the field, we grow, flourish, and work hard to build our lives. But in a moment, whether through natural disasters, illness, or unexpected calamities, all can be swept away. Hurricane Helene has reminded us how vulnerable we are to the forces of nature. The things we spend our lives building can be wiped away in an instant, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. Yet we often put our confidence in these very things, assuming they will provide us with lasting security. The story of Job reminds us a man who was wealthy and well established had his entire life turned upside down when disaster struck. He lost his children, his possessions, and his health in Psalms 1 and verse 21. He declares, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Despite his immense loss, Job acknowledged that everything he had was from God, and nothing in this world could provide him with the security that comes from knowing the Creator, the everlasting Father. Like Job, many of us have experienced moments where all that we have worked for seems to disappear in an instant, in a moment, whether through natural disaster, economic collapse, or personal tragedy. We realize how vulnerable we truly are. But as Job showed, it's not in our possession that we find hope, but in the God who sustains us even when all seems lost. It is in God we have hope. Are we clinging to the things this morning, to the things that could vanish tomorrow? Are we building our lives on temporary foundation? Are we putting our trust in the one who remains unshaken through all storms, through illnesses, through a weakened knee, Brother Philip? Whatever may come your way, who are you putting your trust in this morning? The second point I'd like to make is the uncertainty of earthly possessions. The uncertainty of earthly possessions. In Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19 through to 21, Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19 through to 21. Do not lay for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroys, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, for where your treasures is, there your heart will be also. The homes, cars, and businesses destroyed by the hurricane serve as a stark reminder of the instability of earthly possessions. Jesus warns us not to place our hope in what we can accumulate, because these things are vulnerable to destruction, theft, and decay. Just as a hurricane can demolish homes and destroy material wealth, so too can unforeseen trials sweep away what we have held dear. If our trust in our possessions, if our trust in our possessions We will find ourselves devastated when they are gone. If we remain so attached to our possession or whatever it is, we are going to be devastated when they are gone. Picture a man building a house of cards. With great care, he arranged each card, making sure everything is just right. But with one small gush of wind, the entire structure collapses. That house of cards represents the things we try to accumulate: money, status, security. And we believe they'll stand firm, but in a moment of trial, they come crashing down. You remember that global depression in 2008? Remember that? Affect the entire world? Some people literally got crazy because I think the stock market got a hit. And the reason for that is they put so much trust in their businesses that they don't remember that before they got the business, they had nothing. And somebody always says, once you have life, you have what? Everything. You can start what? All over again. In Luke chapter 12 and verse 16 through to 21, Luke chapter 12, they title this as the rich fool. I think it is justifiable, isn't it? Because in the narrative, we are going to see that Jesus tells the parable of a rich man who had an abundant harvest and thought to himself, I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus gain. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This story emphasizes the danger of placing our trust in wealth and material goods rather than in God, who holds our lives in his very hand. You know, Jesus was the one who said, don't fear them that can kill the body. Don't fear those who can destroy your fleshly body, but fear him. Pay attention to him that can destroy both body and soul. How often do we, like the rich fool, build bigger barns to store the excess of our lives, thinking that security lies in our possessions? We might not be hoarding grain, but are we stockpiling wealth, positions, or accomplishment, thinking they will keep us safe? As the rich man learned, our lives can be demanded from us at any given moment, at any time. The third point I like to make is the necessity of trusting God. The necessity of trusting God. In Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5 through to 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. What is the writer saying? What is God saying to the people? The things we own, no matter how valuable or cherished, can vanish in an instant. In contrast, God's love and faithfulness endures forever into eternity. We are called to place our trust in him rather than in the uncertainty of things of this world. Trusting in God means recognizing that our lives and possessions are temporary. Our lives and possessions are temporary. But his care for us is eternal. When we trust in him, even in the times of great loss, we find a security that cannot be shaken. Jesus calms the storm in Mark chapter 4 and verse 35 through to 41. Mark chapter 4, 35 through to 41. And as Jesus and his disciples were crossing the Sea of Galilee, a violent storm arose, threatening to capsize the boat. The disciples, filled with fear, woke Jesus, saying, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Jesus rebuked the wind and waves, and there was a calm, a complete calm. He then asked his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" This account shows us that even in the storms of life, we can trust that God is in control. Though the storm may rage, God is our anchor and our refuge. And so most of the times, when there is a trial or anything that seems to derail my purpose, I draw very closer to whom? To God. And I want you to do the same thing. In your situation, I need you to pray. Draw closer to God. That means your morning prayer. If you are unable to read, we live in a day and age where we have technology. I am the type of person, I go on YouTube and I go to a book. And you know what I do? I let the Bible read for me. I let the instrument read the scriptures, and it comforts me. But in essence of what I'm saying, when there is a situation that seems to be unbearable, draw closer to God. Imagine driving through an hurricane with nothing but the headlights to guide you. The rain is pouring, the wind is howling, and everything around you is in chaos. But you trust the road before you, even when it is difficult to see. Similar, our trust in God is our light in the midst of life's storm. Like the disciples, when we face life's storm, we often cry out, "God, don't you care?" But Jesus is with us, in control of the winds and waves. We must learn to trust in him, even when the waters seems overwhelming. Do you trust God, or do you fear the storm? Will you place your faith in the one who calms the wave, or will you be consumed by fear? In Romans 8 and verse 18, the final point is, there is hope in the midst of suffering. There is hope in the midst of suffering. I am not here telling anyone to give up on life when the going get tough. But what I am saying is, place your anchor. Let God be that refuge whenever you're faced with all kinds of telling and trying situation. I consider that the present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. The suffering caused by Hurricane Helene is immense, but we have hope in the midst of this pain. God's word promised us that our present suffering is temporary, and that something far greater awaits those who trust in him. The things of this world may pass away, but God's kingdom is eternal. We are called to fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary. What is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. 2 Corinthians 4 verse 18. So as I come to a close, I need you to understand that all of us are facing different circumstances and different trials. And I'm saying to you, put your trust in Jesus, regardless of what you are going through. You can become so attached where you allow your possessions to possess you to a point where God said to this rich young ruler, give your life's goods to the poor and come and follow me. The Bible says that he went away with a sorrowful what? Heart. The devastation of Hurricane Helene has revealed the frailty of our lives and our possessions. Yet in this moment of loss, we are called to turn our hearts to God and place our trust in Him alone. Earthly treasures will fade, but God's love endures forever. Let us remember the words of the psalmist. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. In Him we find security, even in the storms of life. Let us stand as we sing.